Hi, executive team members. Thank y'all so much for giving me an opportunity to come and talk to you today. I actually wanted to take a little time to talk to you about some items I think that are going to help us to be more efficient in the future, actually help us to contact our stakeholders a lot easier and make more connection with our stakeholders. Wanted to talk to you about possibly incorporating a mobile marketing campaign here at the department. That campaign would involve actually using social media. It also would work on establishing a full-time website for the department. Also at looking at SMS, texting campaigns, and other things just to really draw interest from our stakeholders about what we're doing here at the department. We'll be able to actually provide information a lot quicker to our stakeholders instead of having to do so much letter writing, traditional letter writing, as far as using a lot of paper, using a lot of money, as far as sending that information out to them via regular mail. We'll be able to contact them and actually impact them a lot more instantly through social media and these other items that we actually are going to propose in this particular presentation. Again, Executive Council members, thank you again for giving me this opportunity. And again, thank you. And at the end of this particular presentation, if you have any questions, please let me know. Let's take a look at this slide. Digital trends in education marketing. According to Digital Marketing Trends in the Education Market 2013, while email campaigns are the most popular marketing activity, education companies are engaged in social media marketing, internet advertising, search engine marketing, and a variety of related digital marketing efforts. Executive team members, let's take a quick look at this information. Nearly all teachers, 97%, use one or more website types to research and access online digital content for use in their classrooms. To access online digital content, more than half of these teachers use smartphones, and 45% of these particular teachers are actually using tablets, things like iPads. 7 out of 10 teachers visit social media websites. And the last thing at the very bottom here, in 2013, 69% of college faculty reported using wireless mobile devices for education related emails. So if our own educators are actually utilizing mobile devices, why not take this opportunity to actually provide them with the opportunity to impact their parents, grandparents, and those who are in charge of their students? We really need to take a close look at this information. If our stakeholders are utilizing mobile marketing and also mobile devices, we actually need to get on board with this and actually provide our information to our stakeholders in the way that they want to best receive that information. Executive team members, let's look at this additional information from digital marketing for education. Parents and students now consider web as the most convenient means for carrying out admission processes. Most students and parents have begun to judge a school or college through its online presence. Display advertisements on the internet are highly effective, outperform traditional advertising. All of these things put together that we just mentioned here says to me personally, parents and students now consider web to be convenient. And for that particular reason, they are going to want to really receive their information that way. There are various reasons that make mobile marketing the best means for reaching out to stakeholders today. It's cost effective. Most online marketing platforms are affordable compared to traditional marketing methods. So, for instance, let's look here. With what we're proposing in this proposal, we're actually asking the ALSDE to actually consider starting Facebook, also utilizing YouTube and other social media platforms. Comparing that to traditional television advertisements, which we've done in the past, it's going to be a lot more cost effective. Again, to start a lot of the social media platforms that we're considering, there's really no startup cost. But in going to traditional television advertisements or even radio advertisements, there is going to be a substantial cost. The information would be instantaneously available to our stakeholders. So we could provide them with that instant feedback that we've been mentioning throughout this particular presentation. We want to make sure that the information that we provide to our stakeholders is accurate, that they receive it quickly, and it is the type of information that they're going to want to receive from us. So, another key advantage of mobile marketing would be the instantaneous feedback that we could provide to our stakeholder groups. It's measurable. There are varied tools which can be used to measure digital marketing effectiveness. Let's make a comparison. We spoke about traditional marketing methods such as television and radio here on this particular slide, but we also can do a lot as far as our mobile marketing efforts also in measuring the impact that we're having. For instance, if we set up a Facebook page or any other social media page or set up a website, we can actually also measure that. I don't know if you've ever heard of Google Analytics, but we would be able to target and actually see how our stakeholders are using our information, what would be the best ways to get that information to them, and we would be able to target more effectively the type of information that we are sending out to our stakeholders. Let's look here. Easily accessible tools using digital marketing forms such as social networking sites like Facebook, Google Plus, Twitter, and others, or SMS marketing guarantee a large, focused audience. Just like I mentioned before, it with the measurable point that we just mentioned here, we will be able to really focus on and really target the type of information that our stakeholders will want to receive from us and that they are going to need from us. Let's look here. Education, SEO tips. Stats and facts. Let's take a look at the Alabama State Department of Education and some of the interesting points in factual information about our department. The total school population in the state of Alabama is going to be 744,106 students. And actually, looking here at the breakdown, we have about 11,000 pre-K students throughout the state that are in public schools. Kindergartners, we have about 57,000, a little bit more than that. We have well over 285,000 elementary, that's first through fifth graders. As far as middle schoolers, sixth through eighth graders, we have well over 100,000 of those. And for our high schoolers, which are going to be our ninth through 12th graders, we have 220,936 students, which actually adds up to 744,106 students here in the state of Alabama. Let's take a look at our additional stats and facts. And here we actually have background information on our total teachers, superintendents, and other staff members in Alabama schools. We have 91,000, a little bit over 91,000 of those particular professionals throughout our school systems here in the state of Alabama. The total public schools in the state of Alabama are going to be 1,475. And looking at the breakdown of elementary, we're going to have well over 1,000 of those. As far as middle schools, we're going to have 529. Junior high schools, we're going to have 217. Senior high schools, we're going to have 504 of those throughout the state of Alabama. And our career technical centers, we're going to have those are the standalone CTE centers. We're going to have 63 of those. In any promotional campaign or plan that you're putting together, you always want to take a look at the targets that you want to impact. And we really want to take a look at those stakeholder groups that we want to get our message out to. For this particular effort, we want to make sure we target local Alabama residents. All individuals in the state of Alabama who have smartphones. All Alabamians using any form of mobile device, and that's including iPads, uh, smartphones, etc. We want to also target individuals ages 18 through 65, the core demographic who are using mobile devices and social media today. As far as gender, we really want to target both female and males. We also want to focus on large employers and organizations throughout the state of Alabama. If you really think about it, these particular large organizations would actually have a large amount of the parents and grandparents who actually have students that are actually a part of our local schools. So for that reason, we also want to make sure that we get our information out to any employees at these large organizations. And one of the last target audiences that we want to take a look at is parents of school aged children in Alabama. That's all public, private, charter, and homeschool students. We don't want to discriminate as far as getting the information out to any particular parent group because we also want them, the stakeholders that actually receive the information, once they receive the information, we also want them to spread the information for us through word of mouth. So, for instance, if there is a parent who happens to have a child at a public school that has learned that our graduation rates have gone up significantly here in the state to like 89% or so. We have that many students graduating per year from high school. We want them to not only to I guess have access to that information, but we also want them to spread that information to their friends and family who might have students who are attending public schools. We really want to just target all parents of any school age child in the state of Alabama. This is an example of a possible ad that we possibly could do for our social media effort, and also for our mobile app. We really want to also make sure that we focus on that. So we really want to get the word out. Do small ads like this. Place these type of ads in different locations, whether it be through traditional means, like in a traditional newspaper, or if it be somewhere online, like that same traditional newspaper here in the state of Alabama, but they also have a website that people are being sent to uh, in order to get news from them. A lot of times, a lot of these particular websites are going to have advertisements on them, and things like this actually we could utilize in those particular areas, and actually get more people to sign up to actually participate or to use our mobile app that we're proposing, our traditional website that we're proposing that we build, or even to go to our social media outlets such as Facebook, Twitter, and the other platforms that we have. These ads are going to be very important. In our earlier slide, we just mentioned a proposed app that we would like to do here at the department. What we really would want to do first is to make sure that we establish our traditional website first. We have to have a presence or an area to actually make to push our stakeholders to. For that reason, we really would probably want to establish a traditional website first. Make sure that it's fully functional, that it's very user friendly. But then on top of that, in order to make that particular site more uh, mobile friendly, one thing that we might want to do is actually to establish a ALSDE app, and looking at some research that really points to why we might want to do this is according to the 2014 Mobile Technology Fact Sheet, which is a fact sheet that was produced by the Pew Research Center. It found that 64% of American adults own a smartphone, and 90% of American adults own some form of cell phone, whether it be a non smartphone or a smartphone. For that reason, we know that people uh, would be more readily, I guess, in line with wanting to receive information on their smart device. For that reason, a mobile app would really be a great thing for us to establish. We want to make sure that the information that we have and that we want to provide to our stakeholders is done in a professional manner. It's done quickly, it's done accurately, and it's the type of information that our stakeholders are going to need and are going to want. Let's take a look executive team members. We actually want to take a quick look at I really want to take performance indicators, actually the KPIs, go into this in a little bit more detail, are involved with this mobile marketing effort. My opinions of why it's so important for us to develop a mobile marketing plan. Um, Basically, this will help provide our stakeholders with key information in these particular areas. And I know it's a lot of text and writing on this particular slide, but I wanted to really put in a bullet form all of the great things that we could actually provide to our stakeholders by just simply establishing this mobile marketing plan, and then also establishing the parts of the plan. And those parts, again, executive are going team members. Let's look quickly at these first couple. And what I'm going to do is a lot of them, so I wanted to break them up a little bit. But looking here, we want to put together, establish the number of visitors to the new ALSDE. I just wanted to take a few minutes store and really Google list these things out. Let me explain that real quick. When we establish our app, after we go through them, the new app that we want to propose, a part of that is our mobile marketing corporation. Apple thing for they have an area called the Apple Store, and that's actually where you go to get information the particular apps that you need to download to put on your smart device. School closures on that inclement weather, you have visitors that come there. By just establishing, we want to increase by 5% annually for the next 3-year period the number of visitors that we get to come their smartphone devices, App Store, in order to imagine when we download our app to their smart device. In a particular county. On the flip side of the Apple Store, Google actually has Google and Guardians know and they both we're going to close the same thing. Schools. You basically go there to download your apps. Is going to and be they're like a on their like smart a hub device that they have with them. So we would want to smartphone first establish the app, iPad. Then it could each be year Android-based basically tablet. Try to increase the amount of people that are actually visiting and downloading from that area. The school closures also looking at the next so they can know the number of visitors to the whether it be coming web and social media pages. Child from school, want to try to increase that or by 5% just to sit tight. Also, the children would be safe and just to stay at school, but then come back and pick them up at a later time or email. So we won't have a lot of congestion. Basically, that ad that we spoke about probably very 3 slides ago that we mobile we wanted to actually establish. We want to make sure that out to them when those appear online, official ALSDE we basically get an instant access to basically click on those that we're in order to find out more information. If we could take those and the amount of people that are actually accessing those ads, traditional we want to increase that response rate by 5% annually. And again, these are just the public proposed also have key performance indicators that we want to take a look at. Would have also, as a part of our entire mobile marketing effort, we want to have all on the employees here at the department to place this tagline in their signature line when they send out emails. We normally send out have those you downloaded the new ALSDE about all of the great things we're doing. Visit the App Store or Google Play today for our parents. Let's take a quick look at some of these grandparents and other stakeholders that we have established, including the media members to consider and reporters particular who want to access that information also. The number of people who sign up and download contact directory the ALSDE for all schools and local boards of education increase that by 10% in the state of Alabama over the next 3-year period. That is placed on our mobile. The number of online keyword searches for the terms that we're proposing. ALSDE an events calendar, a statewide or Alabama Department of Education or ALSDE. Our state we want to increase that, but we could actually drill by 4% annually our local over the next 3-year period. Let me explain a little bit about that. On that same keyword searches state are basically when you go to stakeholders would actually not only be able to see what we're doing, type in what you're looking but they could also in the search area down to what their when local you type school that systems in, are doing and what events that's basically sort of like a search. So what we want to do is making sure that department headquarters here in Montgomery, Alabama, ALSDE, we could actually or just ALSDE app, Google Maps, or the full Alabama Department of Education spelled out mobile app is at the very top of the search results that people receive. And contact
the way that we would
and
do that
call us tab
is by
to key
placing
department staff and local education
our
administrators here at the Department of
information
Education
out
web
online,
links to
and
main
basically
ALSDE
once people come
sections
to search
and
for it, the
special
more
initiative
people that
areas.
search
And what
for
I'm
a
talking about
particular
there is all of the
keyword or
different
term,
departments we have
the
here at the
more
Alabama State
likely
Department
it
of
is to
Education,
appear
whether it
at
be
the very top of
career
the
tech
search
or whether it
engine
be our guidance and counseling area, etc.,
results that you receive.
We could actually
I
have
don't know if I'm explaining
areas
that
on
100%,
the website,
but
on our
basically
social media
keywords are basically when
resources,
people
and
place
also
a
access
term
for our
into the search
stakeholders
area,
via the
whatever
app,
would appear
also
at
on
the
their
very
mobile device
top of the
to those
list of
particular
results that they
departments that we
receive.
have here at the
We would want
State
to
Department of
appear at the
Education.
very top,
Other
or at least
items
on
that
that
we can
first
talk
page,
about or place
because
in these
people are
particular
more likely
areas.
just to look at the first
Plan
page of
2020
results that they get,
information,
compared
Alabama
to
Board of
clicking
Education
on
information,
and going on and trying
Office
to
of
find
General
and see what
Counsel things
has
that we want people to
come
know
up on
about,
the second or
new
third
policies
page.
that we have,
So we
new
really want
laws
to
that
just
we
make
have in
sure that
effect
we
here
are
at
in a
here
good
at the State
area
Department
where
of
we
Education,
appear at the very
legislative
top
type
of the
things
first
that we're going
page
to implement,
of the search
career
results
and
that people
technical
receive
education
when they
information,
type in
executive
any
staff
of these particular words:
updates, contact
ALSDE,
information,
ALSDE
and other
app,
items.
Alabama
The
Department of
newsletters that we're
Education,
producing through
etc.
our communication department here at the State Department of Education. Board
The
meeting
next thing we want to
videos.
do is
This goes
decrease
back
by
to
2%
why we
annually
want to
the
establish
number
YouTube
of
ALSDE here at the State
churn
Department as one of
or
our
simply
social media
deleted
platforms.
items, deleted
All of
apps
the state board
that
meetings that we're
are
recording, we
generated
want to be
by
able to
stakeholders.
have access for our stakeholders to actually view that
To
information
further lower
by using social
churn,
media, YouTube,
we want to thoroughly
and other
review our
platforms.
app
We'll be able to
analytics
provide those
each month
videos to
for the next year.
stakeholders.
So
They could
basically, what
access
we
that
want to make
information
sure
via their
is that once
smartphone
people
or even their traditional
actually
desktop computers or laptops
get our app,
that
they
want to know
actually continue to use our
that we
app.
normally produce.
So these are
and
basically
send out.
ways
We can also
in order to
place that
reduce
on
the
all of
likelihood
our,
of people
mobile
not finding our
marketing
app
areas.
interesting enough to
ALSDE
keep or wanting to
photo
delete it.
gallery. We can
We
establish one
want
of
to
those.
stay really
All of the photos that we're
proactive
taking
and make sure
here
that we
at the
put
State Department
relevant
of the
information
many
out there
great
for
events that
them.
we have, and whether
And
it
by
be a
doing
FFA
that, we will reduce this
competition
particular
in Montgomery,
area greatly. And we
a,
want to focus on
Skills
decreasing
USA
it,
the
competition for
likelihood of
students
people
taking
deleting
place
this
in
information
shows
or our
or
app,
even in
or our
Birmingham,
if we
information
have a
by
JRTC
2% annually.
leadership training, and we're taking photos there, we can place all of that type
Average
of information
user time
on
spent on the
social media
ALSDE
platform
app
like Flickr,
and our
and
website
people could
to
actually download
increase
the
by
photos
5%
and do
annually
different things with
through
the photos
the
that they need to
analytics
do.
that are available now
Just
through
social
Google
media
Analytics
is one of them. For
outright.
instance, we want to
You can
make sure
actually
that this
see
mobile
how
marketing
long
campaign
people are spending on
and
your
plan
website,
includes that as
and
one of the key points.
the
that
more
we want
likely that
to,
the more time they're
make
spending
sure
on
that we
on
establish
your
here at the
website,
department. It probably is
and
more of an
also
indication that
email
they
us
are one
area on
liking
the information that
new
they
website
see
that we have
and that is interesting
want
to
to
them.
establish. So we
Here
want to
with
make sure that
the
we
marketing plan.
increase. We can also
The
take a look at
percent
that.
of their total visit time by 5% annually. So if our normal visit times have been for each individual, the average is probably 2 to 3 minutes. We want to increase that by 5% each and every year from this point out. So we would make sure that we are putting the type of information out there that people want to see. The longer they stay on, the more likely they're probably more interested in the information that we have on the website. Increase by 5% annually the number of people accessing the ALSDE website news release area that we propose that we place on the website via redirect from the ALSDE mobile app or social media resources. So basically here, the news releases that we normally generate through our communication section, we want to have a section for those on the website. And then from there, we also want to make that information available on our mobile app and through our social media resources. We basically want people to, when they go to our social media resources and to our mobile app, social media resources, for example, might be Facebook, that the information that they want to get additional information on the great things that we're doing and that we're sending out via our news releases, we basically just want them to simply click on the link that's there and be directed to our main website, and that way they can actually get more detailed information on the type of things that they're looking for. Increase by 5% annually the number of people accessing the ALSDE online directory via ALSDE app and the website. If you think about it, our education directory that we have, that 287 page document, printed document that we actually want to place it online. And again, that's the document that we have that has all of the local school systems listed, all of their addresses, all of the contact addresses for all of the local superintendents, all of the physical addresses for all of the schools throughout the state. It has all of the state board member information in it. That particular document, we want to take it and move it online. Uh, One, that's going to help us to decrease printing costs, but two, that's going to also help us to increase the amount of access that people are going to have to get that information quickly. They could actually go on and just use their smart device to research the addresses that they might want to find for a local school and have access to that. What we want to do, and we're proposing here in this particular KPI area, is that once we put that on our main website that we want to establish, www.alsde.edu, that once we place that on there, that each year we want to increase the amount of people that are visiting that area and accessing that area. And that's simply what that this particular bullet is saying. Based on the retention rate of wanting ALSDE stakeholders to use our app at least one time during the 10-day period immediately following the app download process, work to increase this rate to no less than 3 times by December 1st, 2017. Let me speak a little bit about this. What we want to do here is once we establish our app, usually when people start using the app, they might only access it maybe one time within the first 10 days of them having the app. We want to increase that rate of our people that are actually downloading our app, that they actually access it more within that first 10-day period that they have the app. So for instance, if we see a trend where we only having our stakeholders to access the app one time within the first 10 days of when they first place the app on their smart device, we want to increase that rate to probably at least 3 times, no less than 3 times, them accessing the app within that 10-day window. And what that's going to indicate to us is that's going to show us that we are placing the type of information on the app, or placing it there for them to access the exact type of information that they're looking for. We want people to feel comfortable with the app. We want to make sure that we have the type of information that they want to see available on the app. And by increasing that window, that access point within the first 10 days, that'll be an indicator that we're moving in the right direction. Again, we want to make sure that the information that we provide to our stakeholders is accurate, that it's easily accessible, and it is the type of information that they want to see. Set a baseline for the current time in app rate for this application. Increase by 5% by December 1st, 2016, then increase by an additional 5% by December 1st, 2017. So for instance, if once we go through this particular plan and we see where we want to proceed, and you give me permission to proceed in establishing our mobile marketing effort, once we establish our app, then the time in rate for people actually physically using the app, we want to make sure that we increase that by an additional 5% each year. Basically, that's what this is saying. So we want people to, again, to spend more time on the resources that we have, just like we spoke about the website, the traditional website, and having that click through rate that we just spoke about. Is basically the same thing for app. We just simply want people to spend more time on the app and accessing the information that we're providing. Increase by 10% annually the number of keyword searches for the terms ALSDE app or Alabama Department of Education in the App Store. So basically, like we mentioned earlier, the keyword search information for the search engines online, we want that to also to apply to our apps, and that's what we're basically saying here. When people put those terms in, we want them to be able to see our information first before anybody else's information. The same thing here. We want to increase by 10% annually the number of keyword searches for the terms ALSDE app or Alabama Department of Education in Google Play. So we want to, uh, these two, Google Play and the App Store, are the primary places where people can actually download apps. So for that reason, whatever we do in one place, we're going to have to do in the other. And that's why I broke them down here. Increase App Store optimization, excuse me, via keyword searches by 2% annually. So basically, we want to optimize our App Store presence. And one of the ways to do that is going to be via keyword search. And what we want to do is make sure that we have the most effective keyword search opportunities available. And we want to do that by 2% or increase that rate by 2% annually. Increase by 10% annually the number of online keyword searches for the terms ALSDE or Alabama Department of Education. Executive Council members, I deeply apologize that it took me a little time to go through that information on the previous two slides, but that information is very key and very important to our effort here. So I wanted to make sure that I went through it in detail so you could ask me any questions at the end that you might have about this particular plan that I'm proposing. But now let's take a quick look at SMS text messaging and how it will help to increase ALSDE stakeholder awareness. Executive team members, just wanted to give you something visually that you could see of what how a SMS ad might appear. Again, we have a great graphic arts department here at the department, and they can help us to design something that is very similar to the SDE app ad that we talked about a few slides ago. But again, just wanted to give you something like a mock-up here. But on any of the ads that we produce, we actually just had to have a few key areas, and we actually have them displayed here. One is going to be we need to inform the stakeholder who's thinking about possibly participating in this effort that data rates may apply on their smart device. Usually will not, but we just need to indicate that there might be a charge for them actually accessing this information from their smart device. The second point, if you look in the upper left hand corner, we have the sign up, and you will get one text daily from us. We have to spell out clearly in our ad that we are going to provide our stakeholders or participants in this effort with at least one text daily, and by doing that, we have to comply with that. Also, we want to make sure that we spell out clearly in the yellow part at the top here what incentive they're going to receive by participating in our effort. And for this particular effort, we've partnered with the Alabama State Employees Credit Union, and a part of their insurance arm of that particular agency has given us permission to give our participants a 25% discount coupon, which as an incentive for them participating, which is very nice. But again, we've spelled out what incentive the person is going to receive. We've spelled out that data rates may apply, and we've also put at the very bottom a disclaimer for parents and guardians. And for any of the ads that we do, we will have to make sure that this information is located on the ad itself, because we want to make sure that the stakeholder that is considering it knows everything up front that might apply to them participating in our SMS campaign. Looking at this a little bit deeper, and I really wanted to bring this point out, is I took that same language that we just talked about at the very bottom of that last slide and wanted to actually make it so you could read it, because it's very small on the previous slide. But it basically says parents, guardians with children participating in this offer, and those who are 13 years old and younger, have the right in most states to review their children's personal information to establish and maintain reasonable security procedures. We want all children to basically be safe. That's why we're putting this in here. Contact your state's authorities for more information on these rights. So each state has its own particular rights and laws in reference to this, and we just want to make sure that we spell it out clearly to anyone who's interested in participating in our campaign. Let's take a quick look at an example message that we could possibly send out to our customers. And before we actually go into that, we are actually, our provider is actually going to be the messaging service 84444. We decided to actually go with them. What they're going to do is actually, once people see our ads in those different locations that we highlighted in the previous slide, they will actually text their information, send us a text. We can pull their phone number from that, and then from there we can actually start to send them text messages. But we have to really make sure that we are staying within the legal requirements of that. This is an example of one text that we could possibly send. let's talk a little bit about the message stop, stopping the message system service that we're providing if the customer wants to. Uh, Basically, the only thing that the customer will have to do in order to do that is once they receive a text from us, they simply just reply back to our text with the words stop, end, or a similar response, something that lets us know that they no longer want to participate, and we will make sure that we basically take them out of our database and make sure that we stop all contact with them via the service that we're providing. Now, they do have the option to come back and actually re-sign up if they like to. We would love to have continue to have them as a customer. Hopefully, they'll still continue to come in, but they do have the option to actually opt out of the service at any time that they want to. Let's look exactly at what social media is. Social media is a way for people to connect online and through mobile technology to share interest or build relationships with others. Also, building strong relationships with stakeholders and, like we were saying before, making that connection should be the main reason why the Alabama State Department of Education focuses on developing a great social media strategy. Let's look at this interesting fact. A variety of people now utilize social media. And if you really think about it, in the US, now you actually have a lot of senior Americans that are actually starting to use social media resources, especially Facebook. You also have teens that are continuing to use social media at high levels. And you also have people of different generations using social media more, including Generation X and millennials. Also looking at using more social media resources. And also, it's actually breaking what you would think would be stereotypical areas. People from all different backgrounds, religions, racial makeups, just a full gamut of people are using social media now. Let's look at some interesting national statistics. Now let's look at the three resources that this proposal basically is recommending for the Alabama State Department of Education to use. The first is Facebook. And let's look at some interesting information about Facebook. It was founded in 2004, is now more than 10 times larger than the biggest television station in the world. The second resource is Twitter, founded in 2006. Many of the same things that make texting effective in workplaces often are the things that make Twitter very uh, key in social media. And some of those areas are Twitter is very concise. The amount of wording that you're using in a tweet is very low. I think 140 characters is the max, and it oftentimes gets straight to the point. There's with those 140 characters, they come quickly, and you have to be nimble in how you use them. The last resource that I highly recommend for the State Department of Education to use is YouTube. And this company was actually founded in 2005. It actually was bought out and is now a part of the Google family. And it basically focuses on video based items. It's a video based platform. Let's look at some additional information here. Methods to use gaining followers. One of the questions that was posed was basically how would we go about gaining followers for our social media program that we're proposing, and actually also why is it important to gain those followers. Here, to basically leverage community support, I think that we should email local superintendents and all school personnel statewide info about our new social media resources and links. And this is basically to get everybody on board and making them aware of the social media resources that we now have after we go through the plan and we decide to implement it. And again, those once the social media resources that we're want to implement are YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And basically, in order to let people know and make them aware of the new resources that we have, I think that one of the first steps is to actually simply use old school traditional method, and that's basically to email. We have here at the State Department of Education, we have a wide variety of database list, everything from all superintendents in the state, all school personnel, that's including teachers, librarians, counselors, uh, anybody that is associated with schools. We have email addresses for them. So basically, let's use those email addresses to make people aware of our social media content that we have. If you look to the right of your screen, you actually see a breakdown of the 2014 2015 amount of state personnel school wide that we have for the state of Alabama. You're basically looking at that total at the bottom of 91,190 people. And those are actually the total amount of teachers, counselors, librarians, and others in the school systems local wide that we actually have email addresses for. So using an old school method of email would be very effective in getting information out about our new social media resources. I think a second method that would be effective is actually to simply send out traditional news releases. In the news release database for the State Department of Education, there are more than 1,000 people in that contact list, and those include all of the major media outlets here in the state. There are contacts for those. There are also contacts for different people who actually generate blogs, create different blog pages. Also, you have just general citizens who are very passionate about education for K 12 students who are members of that list and others. But again, that is 1,000 people that will go along with that 91,000 that we spoke about earlier. And that's well over 92,000 people just from those two particular lists that we can get information out to about our new social media resources, which again are going. We recommend Twitter, we recommend YouTube, and we recommend Facebook. Other ways include placement of each social media platform's logo and icon on our current www.alsde website. Basically, the icons that you normally see on a lot of websites, we need to incorporate those particular logos on our website also, and make sure that they're hot linked directly to each social media uh, resources main page and sign up area. So basically, if someone comes to our Department of Education website, they click on the icon for Facebook, they are immediately sent to the front page login area, sign up area for Facebook. I think we also should seriously consider purchasing some targeted advertisements about the organization that highlight the new social media resources that we have. Basically, doing some online ads in areas where we know our stakeholders probably will be going. One good way to do that actually might be through AL.com, which is al.com. which is the major media resource in the state of Alabama. They actually own all of the Gannett newspapers in the state, and basically all of the larger newspapers in Alabama are Gannett based. So you have the major newspaper in Birmingham, which is the largest city in Alabama, is a part of that group. Um, you also have the newspaper in Mobile, Alabama, which is another large city in Alabama that is a member of that group. You also have the newspaper in Montgomery, Alabama, the Montgomery Advertiser, that is a part of that group. You also have the major newspaper in Huntsville, Alabama, uh, which I think is the Huntsville Times, which is also a major newspaper in the state. So, just between those four different resources there in their online news coverage that they normally do, you could probably easily impact at least 2 million people uh, easily in the state of Alabama. And if we actually do some online ads just with AL.com alone, we should be able to get information out about our new resources. They don't have to be anything expensive or elaborate, but it actually would help to boost in the awareness part of letting people know that we do have these resources now available at the Alabama State Department of Education, which is which would be great. And I wanted to talk about this too. Actually, for um, organizations like the Alabama State Department of Education, a lot of other organizations often are doing marketing efforts to sell a particular product. Like, for instance, I'm thinking like Mercedes. They actually have a physical product that they're trying to sell, which is a car, a vehicle. For organizations like state agencies like the Alabama State Department of Education, in your market, in these marketing efforts, we're not necessarily trying to sell a particular product, but we're trying to sell uh, more so resources and information, data, those kind of things, which are going to be important to helping our students grow in the long term. So I think that's very important too for us also to remember that we are trying to build awareness with people, and social media is actually a great way to do that. I believe we also should forward information about our resources to our community partners. They will advocate and encourage more people to use our new social media services. This week, one of the questions that was posed actually asked, how will you target key influencers in your market? And I believe that this actually is a part of that. um, One of the ways for us to do that is to simply to provide information to our key stakeholders and partners in the communities that we are associated with. And many of those partners are some of the most powerful partners that you can have in those local communities. This is a general list of those, some of those. In this particular list, we have Alabama Grit. Grit is like an association, um, the partnership of different organizations that are all education related throughout the state. There are about maybe 4 or 5 different organizations that are very powerful educational type organizations that are members of Alabama Grit, and they actually would be a good way for us to get information out about our new social media resources to local stakeholders and also those key influencers that was posed to us earlier also. We also have on this list the Alabama Industrial Development Training, which is also known as AIDT, and they actually are a very powerful organization as far as business. Uh, any business, large business that settles in the state of Alabama actually does all of their recruitment efforts through this particular organization. So, for instance, when Mercedes settled in Alabama, Hyundai settled in Alabama, Airbus settled in Alabama. To do all of their hiring, they actually uh, did all of the, they actually allowed Alabama Industrial Development Training to recruit all of the workers that they have. So they're a very powerful organization for that reason because they have a great business connection. And the business community is actually one of our key influences that we want to contact. And so for that reason, providing them with our social media information would be a great thing to do. Also, looking quickly at the rest of the list, we have Alabama PTA, PTO organization. We have the Alabama Community College System. We have the Alabama Commission on Higher Education. In the state of Alabama, there are three different educational resources. At the K 12 level, you have the Alabama State Department of Education. For the community college level, which is the 2 year colleges, you have the Alabama Community College System. And then for what we consider to be higher ed, that's the traditional 4 year colleges such as University of Alabama, Alabama State University, you have Auburn, those traditional 4 year universities, they fall under the Alabama Commission on Higher Education. So all of those other partners would be great to send our information to as far as our social media efforts. Also, we're looking at the Alabama Department of Revenue. We're also looking at a major player in the business side, which is Hyundai Motor Manufacturing. You also have Airbus Manufacturing, who's actually the builder of some of the largest planes in the world, airplanes in the world. You also have the Southeastern Conference. I notice it's sports related, but they're also a very powerful organization located in the state of Alabama, and many more well known and highly respected organizations in the region. in our questions this week, there was a question that was posed on how important will video be for this effort. I would say video is going to be extremely important. Looking at this infographic, this is some information about YouTube. And again, YouTube is one of the three recommendations that we provided this week. The first being Twitter, the second being Facebook, and the last being YouTube. Looking at this infographic, it basically says that YouTube processes about 3 billion searches a month of people looking for video type information. YouTube is bigger than Bing, Yahoo, X, and AOL combined. 1 billion unique monthly visitors come to YouTube. It's also one of the fastest growing video sharing websites in the world at this particular moment. Video is going to be very key for the State Department of Education, and it always has been. Actually, on staff, the Alabama State Department of Education has a full-time videographer who actually came directly from television industry. Was a 10, I think at least a 17-year vet in the television industry, doing a lot of filming, videography type information. And the State Department of Education decided to hire him. And he actually does a lot of quality work and actually is really booked up most of the time. But some items that the State Department of Education utilizes video in are all of the state board meetings for the state board are recorded and you streamed. So basically, all of the particular meetings that they have, the state board is about a 7-member board, and they actually are in charge of the whole State Department of Education. And they were also in charge of all of the 2-year colleges until recently, about a year ago, and now they're just in charge of the K-12 side. But all of their meetings are recorded and actually posted online. Also, the department has PSAs, public service announcements, that they normally generate and produce and provide out to local media to get those PSAs played. Also, the videographer and the video effort here at the State Department of Education also is focused on taping those good news stories and providing them to the media. For instance, if there is a student who's won a major award, the videographer would actually go out, do the filming, put together a package, and could actually submit it to local media and has done it before. Also has just kept an archive of those type of things. So video is very important to the Alabama State Department of Education, and YouTube would definitely be a great resource because of the ease of being able to post those videos quickly, and actually the archiving side of it would be great too, and also would be a great effort to build up SEO for the State Department of Education as far as their online presence, because of the amount of text that's involved, the descriptions that you can actually put inside of the video descriptions, that kind of thing, keywords. So YouTube is actually going to be a great resource for the State Department of Education if the proposal goes through.
Executive Council members, thank you again for giving me this opportunity to come and talk to you today about this particular presentation. Again, I really feel that this is going to be a very efficient way for us to get our information out to our stakeholders, also to make sure that we impact them and provide them the information that we need to get to them very quickly. Let's remember that nowadays, probably at least 75% of Americans have a smartphone. Why not tap into that particular medium by utilizing the information that we discussed today in this particular campaign. And we can do that through these particular items: our social media aspect, through the Facebook, through the YouTube, and the other items that we propose. Also, by establishing a very user-friendly website, we'll also be able to impact our stakeholders a lot easier and also get information to them a lot quicker. There are a couple of things I want us to keep in mind also. One, this project is going to fit within our budget. It costs very little to actually start. It costs nothing to actually start social media aspects of this particular campaign. For instance, with Facebook, no cost. The YouTube aspect would be no cost. And the other items that we've proposed would be very little cost. Now, with the website and designing that, we would want to have a very professional website, very professional level website to actually send our stakeholders to. So we would need to spend a little money on that. The average cost of a good website development campaign at the particular level that we're going to need is going to probably be right under $20,000. But in the long term, we actually will be able to see the return on that investment very quickly. Executive team members, executive council members, thank you again for giving me this opportunity, and you guys have a great day.